Good point. It wasn't being recorded. So now it is being recorded. Tipo, thanks. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, and I will post all of my videos. If I need editing just to shorten them, I'll do that. But I will post them on my YouTube channel, and I'll send them out to you via Signal. Okay, so here we go. So here's a shape, and I'm just going to dimension this there to there. All right, so let's have a look at this dimension. These things here, these little bits at the end, are called extension lines. And this line here, which is parallel with, or let's say it's perpendicular to whatever line would go between these two lines. I'll explain that in more detail now. So in this case, it's obviously parallel to that line, this line that I'm just hovering over. But if you were to draw something different like this, oh, come on. Worry about that. No, all right. Okay, so let's say I was to dimension between that. Right, so you see that these two extension lines are parallel with the planes or the lines that they dimension, and these two lines are obviously parallel at the moment, and it's perpendicular to whatever line would theoretically. So I mean, I could delete this and that would still hold. My drawing could look like this, for instance. And that would still hold. So this dimension line is just indicating that the distance between that line and that line is 13.03 on condition that those two lines are parallel. So when you do something like this is what I've saw quite a few people doing. When you go like this, that kind of dimension is meaningless. It has no use whatsoever and is, as far as I'm concerned, it's illegal. So a dimension must be a true dimension. And if it's a true dimension, it must actually indicate, like in this case, that the distance between that line and that line is 60 all the way along those two lines. All right. So you got to watch out for that because it's very easy in SolidWorks and in other programs to make those kinds of mistakes. Okay, so here are the parts of the dimension. The dimension line has extension lines. They always start a little bit away from whatever it is that they are dimensioning. In this case, this is 1.5 millimeters. They don't always have what's called, I don't know what this is called. I think it's called an extension as well. This little bit that goes beyond the arrow. They sometimes end, it depends on the standard, but I like mine to go a little bit beyond. Then the dimension always sits either inside this dimension line horizontally or away from the line, sort of parallel to it. Okay, so my standard is that I want the dimensions, no matter what you do, to always sit in that kind of relationship. Okay, so if I do that again, so the dimension is always to the left or above the dimension line, or in the case of radial dimensions, like this one, is horizontal. Okay, and in my standard, the radial dimensions always point to whatever it is that you're looking at, or if it's a circle of some sort, then this is also acceptable, except it would now have a diameter symbol in there. Okay, all right. So, okay, so the other thing about these radial dimensions is that if it's a circle, then you must have a diameter sign, and if it's only a radius, then it must have an R sign. So the R should never be, if it's an incomplete circle, that should never have a diameter sign. And likewise, this should never be a radius sign. So, I mean, this is a legitimate dimension like that. It's quite legitimate. R12 is half of diameter 24. The problem for me is that this is not as descriptive as that is. That is more descriptive in that it says that there's a circle, and this says very clearly this is not a circle, it's only part of a circle. Right, everyone happy with that? Then a center line, so this line here at the moment is
I have a
actually,
question.
yep.
When you click on Smart Dimension and you automatically go to Dimension a circle, it gives you a radius automatically. How do you choose the diameter function over the radius one?
Right, so if you've taken my settings, it should give you that diameter. Okay, what you're saying is that that's giving you a radius, is that right? And that's right. So you're saying this is showing radius. What you can do is if you haven't got my settings, which I think you must load, you can change it. You can go to leaders at this point here, and you can say, is it other? Ooh, I know there is a way in which you can get this to
They
just
under
go with.
leaders. It was just, I think you must it. It was under leaders.
It's on the leaders. I know there's actually a shortcut. There's a shortcut. I'll find the shortcut for you.
On the top left. Yeah,
Top left. So
of those icons, like down, down, down. Yeah.
down. That one. This one, yeah.
No, no, no. No, the one on the top left. Is
That
that
one
not
there.
radius?
Oh, yes. Okay, there we go. Thanks. Thanks. This is, I never use it. I never, if it's a circle, it's got to be a circle to me. So I suppose, sorry, I'd forgotten what we did. Okay. All right. So you can change it. There we go. That's how you change it. Thanks, Hamza. That's useful. There you go, Ram. And then you can change where it points to. So I don't really like that thing there. I prefer, it's just because it's less information, and my philosophy is the less information you have in a drawing, the better. So I just set mine up like this, where it points to whatever it's, because that's all it needs to do. Okay, we go back to this one here. About that. Okay, so if something is centered, then obviously it needs the center line sign, and you should place that center line sign sort of a little bit away from all the dimensions. Should actually be placed, oh goodness. Should actually be placed outside of all of your dimensions. I think that about covers that drawing. Okay, and then let's just explain the difference between these two here, right? So there are size and position dimensions, and this is going to be very, very important in some of the drawings I'm going to ask you to look at. So whatever you do is going to need to have datum that's starting points, but we're not going to deal with that right now. But in any drawing that you do, you need to indicate to whoever's looking at it that you're starting from a point consistently. So let's go. Let's say we've got this item here, right? So whoever's looking at this says, aha, whoever wants this wants a hole or a shape of 20 diameter, okay? And quickly dimension the rest of this. You know that that's 50. Knows that that there is 60. Knows that this radius is 15. Okay. This way. Cross. So great. We have a hole of 20 diameter. Where do we put it? So whatever it is that your starting point is, so in this case, I'm going to assume that this edge here is the starting point, and that edge there is the starting point. That should be the basis for your position dimension. So position dimension number 1, I'm going to go from here to the center of this. About this, okay, so it should go to the center. I need to wait for this to go to center. There you go. And there you go, it's 15. Aha, so whatever hole I need to start drilling or making, the center of it is at 15 from the right-hand wall. And from the bottom, it's also 15. So now I know not only how big this thing is, but where to begin it. So let's do the same with this. Like that. Let's do the same with this little rectangle at the top. We can dimension it. We can say well, we know that that's 12. We know that that is 10. And we know that this line here, this left-hand line is the starting point. So I need to show either where this little rectangle ends or where it starts. So, but I need to pick one of these points or one of the 4 points. In this case, it makes most sense to pick this point here, just that point there. So I'm going to go dimension from the start point there. That's 33. And from the base, which is there, to there, it's 40. So this is what you need in all of your dimensions, is you need to be able to describe, one, the size of the overall thing, two, the shape of the thing. So in this case, I've got, it's 60 high and it's 50 wide, and on one corner, it has a radius of 15. Okay, so that's the size and the shape. Go back to this side thing here. This is messed up. Okay, size dimension shows how large the feature is, and it also shows what the shape is. Okay, so by implication, 60 here says these two lines are parallel, and 50 there shows that those two lines are parallel. And 15 by implication says that that curve, take this apart, that curve and that line there are tangent to one another, as are that curve and that line tangent to one another. If you did want to change that, if you wanted to, for instance, do something like this down, let's say you wanted to cut that off, which sometimes you do want to do. Sometimes in some plastic feature, you actually want to get a very nice distinct line. And so this is possible. It's not normal though. Right, so there you've got a cutoff radius. Now what you have to do is you actually have to specify that although that's radius 15, we need to be able to tell whoever's doing it that the radius starts at 44.2 on the left-hand side, and it starts at 33.95 on the right-hand side. Okay, so the moment you cut it off, or you do something else, you do something like this. Delete that because it's going to break. You want to do something like that, you obviously now also have to specify where that arc begins and ends. Okay, any questions? No. Right, so that's the lesson, and that's the content we have to deal with for today. Done. Now we can go to the fun part. I'm going to close this. Maximize. Oh, go. Okay, just a quick thing. Do you know about this little button? You can make your feature manager disappear by just clicking on that little button, or reappear. Right, so let's just go to. Okay, so most of you got most of this right. You at least got the shapes right, and that's admirable because I actually threw quite a sort of a slightly tough one at you because it wasn't straightforward, mainly because of this little problem here, that little angle, that 25 degrees. Okay, so what I've done here, what I've done here is I've actually, this sketch here, by the way, this top bit, I didn't sketch in the beginning. I just sketched that little bit there. So as you can see, I've got well, we can ignore that for now. Let's just put that out the way. I've got the dimensions which I asked for in my sketch. I've got 14 degrees. This is better than having 2 dimensions like this because I can change one without changing the other. If the relationships are in place, it'll automatically adjust it. So that's not a problem. That.
So by clicking those 2 points to get that radius, normally it gives just like a horizontal distance. How do you change it so that you get an angle dimension?
The angle. In fact, why don't we do this? Let's delete them all. Okay, so I think what you're asking is how do you get the angle dimension? Is that right?
Yes.
Right, so here's one of the things that you should try and do is until you get used to this, you should actually try and not click the points. Click on the line and the line, and what you'll then get is a true dimension. Okay, now we're indicating that the distance between that line and that line is 8.5, whereas if you did something like this, you get 8.10, which is not the dimension that I asked for, and it's not going to help whoever's looking at this to understand what's going on. Okay, so much better until you know what you're doing. to select the lines that you want to dimension, because 8.5 is what I asked for. So the same thing would then apply with the angle ones. I want the angle between that line and that line. So I'm going to click on the line, and I get 14 degrees. Is that what you're asking, Hamza? I just need some sort of confirmation.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because
perfect?
when I was clicking on the points, it was giving me.
Because if you click on the points, then you're going to get what you asked for. You're going to get the distance between the points. But SolidWorks is very clever. It understands what you're asking. So clicking on the lines is much easier and it's much quicker. Okay, so then I asked for this one. 10. Okay, done.
Another question.
Yeah.
When sketching this main arch that's on top, instead of me drawing or sketching out a circle and then connecting lines to it and using a power trim, do I just use a line and an arc and then change the angle of the line by dimensioning?
Okay, so hold on. Are you talking only about this outer one?
Yeah. Even the inner one. Do I start off by making circles or do I just use a normal 3-point arc?
I get you saying. All right. Okay. So there are different ways you can do this. I think the most efficient is to do something like this. You've got an idea of what this thing looks like. Just start a sketch, right? Go like this. Doesn't matter. Even if they're not connected, you can always connect them later. So I'm going to deliberately do something where I don't connect anything. I'm going to drag this line. I'm going to click, let go, drag. Now, if I just put my cursor back on that point, it should give me a tangent arc. Okay, so I can drag it around. If you are clever, you'll actually wait for it to reestablish, to give that line there to show, those two are now, you'll see the little horizontal relationship. It's putting that in, and then I click that one there. And now you can actually, it'll give you guidelines to give you something which is what's the word again? Symmetrical with this other line. But if it doesn't, that's not a problem. Time. Okay, so we got 10 minutes left. We'll have to have another session because we've got to cover this ground before we go. Right, so once you've done that, you can then just left click, drag from left to right, up from bottom to top, and you'll have selected those three lines, and you can just put the symmetric relationship in, okay? And then you can actually put these three, make them horizontal, all right? And I know that I need, just remember what it was. I need that to be, is that right? No, it wasn't. Okay, let's leave that out. All right, so once you've got this in place, then you can use this offset command, and you can select, it'll show you over here that it selects the chain, and you can say that you want it to be 8.5. Okay, so I'm going to select just this line. It'll do the whole thing, and it'll put the dimension in for me. Now I can put in a line here. I'm deliberately going to put it in as an angle. Trim this. Okay, and now I know that that line must be, put this dimension in, 25 degrees. Okay. So there are two ways I can do it. I can actually draw, as I've got here, I can draw some sort of construction line, but there's a much easier way. I click on the line, click on the point that I want to dimension from, and it'll give you these four axis points. Click on the one that you want to dimension from, so not from that one, not from that one, not from that one, but from this one. You'll see it lights up, and that'll give you that dimension. And then you can just type in your dimension, and that's done. right? And then I can just mirror that. Where's the mirror? Cross this line here. Trim anything if I need to. No, come on, so. Okay, now basically your sketch is set up. It's all the relationships are in place. You just now need to establish what the dimensions are. So the first thing to do is just draw the sketch as you think it should be, and then control what you want by just putting the dimensions in. Okay, I want this one here to be 10, so I just type 10 in, done. And now I want that point to be 16 millimeters away from that one there. Done. And I'm not going to do it, but I could now then just move the whole lot across. See, it matches this one perfectly. Does that explain it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's perfect.
Yes. So really the trick is do the drawing first. As long as you're drawing intelligently, establish your relationships, and then put the dimensions in. You just drive the thing however you want it. So if I want this to be bigger, I just double click on it and say, I want that to be 18. It says, fine, you can have it at 18. Off you go. Okay. But looks like we're going to run out of time. Let's just see how much time have we got left. About 8 minutes. Is that right? Okay, so I'm going to carry on till everything's till we just stop, and then I'll send a new message meeting just so we can complete this. Okay, so this is not fully constrained. I'm not sure why. I put new dimensions in. That's why. Because I haven't put this dimension in. There we go. Okay. Fully constrained, other than that this line here is not at 70 mil. And for now, that doesn't really matter. Is that right? 70. I can't remember what my drawing said.
Yes.
70. Okay, and then I exit it. Right. So what I've done then is I've taken that sketch, and because I want everything to be centered, I've said that I wanted to extrude from the sketch plane. So that's the plane, which is this mid plane, which is the front plane, I think. Front plane, yep. And I've said mid plane. So if you click on this little button here, you'll get blind, where you can specify how much you want it to extrude by, up to vertex, up to surface. We'll deal with those. And then here at the bottom, mid plane. And I've said 110 millimeters, so it's gone neatly 55 either side. So we're done with that. Then boss extrude. Okay, so don't worry about this. I've set mine up as having different configurations. Okay, so what I did here was the same sort of thing. I put that sketch on front plane, sorry, the side plane, so right plane. There you go. Show that plane. Yes. Okay, so there's the sketch. You can see it's on the plane. Let's go to that sketch. Right, so what I've done in both of these sketches is I've actually drawn extra lines. If you go back to my other sketch, you'll see there's an extra line at the bottom. I've drawn this shape, the totality of the shape, and then I've added an extra line in the middle, which I've actually dimensioned, 19 millimeters, 22. So here everything is dimensioned. So I know that I asked for 8 there, I asked for a radius of 12, I asked for this flap to be 8, and for that angle to be 45, and then 22 is the height of, I'm not sure that that's needed. Okay, so that's not necessary. It was just that 19 was the height from that point to the bottom of there. Okay, and that I did the same thing. I extruded it both ways, and you can see that it's left obviously stuff to be taken away. So what I did with the next two is that I used the old sketch. So I used that sketch there. And I went to this select contours. I'm going to delete them now. And I can actually just select that one, select that one, select that one. And that's cut that one out. I think our meeting, yeah, we'll almost finish now. So there you go. So all I had to do is select those three, the sketches in place already. Then the draft is the next part of it. So I'm just going to hide this. So what I did in the draft is I took the top plane as my basis. Edit that. So there you can see it took top plane as my start. And then I just chose the two faces that I wanted to draft. Okay, and obviously, let's go back. I put 4 degrees in there. Changing that for my own peace of mind. Okay. And then the last thing, I think the last two things I did. I created this sketch in which I lined that line up with any one of these. So you'll see that that line is in fact,